Do you wake each morning with pain that seizes your body, refusing to let go? Have you tried again and again to explain this agony to countless doctors, hoping someone might truly listen, understand, and show compassion, only to be met with silence and no answers? The torment feels endless, a relentless monster that drives you to your knees, forcing you to cling to anything just to endure its attacks, leaving you wondering if survival is even possible. But hear this: there is hope. I share these words because we, the ones who suffer, are no longer without light. For 6.5 years, I was trapped in unbearable, life-shaking pain. And then, by the grace of God, help finally found me.
Welcome to Writer's Way Podcast, the podcast where we step into the enchanting world of authors as we delve into their unique writing journeys and the captivating tales behind their stories. I'm your host, Jessica Wilkins, and today we're joined by an inspiring woman whose life reflects both resilience and deep-rooted faith. She's a proud country girl whose travels across the nation, of course thanks to her husband's career, had shown her the world, yet continues to anchor her heart and her writing. The incredible author, Judy Rentz. Judy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so Judy, let's begin with what sparked this entire journey. So what inspired you to share your personal experience, genital nerve entrapment, and neuralgia so openly and publicly?
Well, my journey started in June of '07, which makes this monster 18 and a half years old, but my inspiration came after I had searched, and my husband, for 6.5 years, trying to find someone that knew what this awful pain was that I was having. And many doctors and anybody in the medical field, we just searched forever. That was our job, just to every day pick up the phone or the iPad and keep searching for anyone. And I would get some appointments, but when you get to the doctor, in my experience, and most of us across the nation, they will stare at us in the face. I've never heard the word, well, I didn't know it's pudendal, but they would stare and didn't have any answers for us, anything. And I've been treated for back problems. The first place a doctor will send you is either to a back surgeon or to a urologist. And I guess urologists see a lot of this, but that was the first referrals I would have. And of course you get there and you get the CT scans and all of that. There would be nothing wrong with my back or in the urology area, nothing. But the ache it's beyond description, really. I was in bed. I was always so busy in everything. I've done absolutely everything from condo management to finding my true love, which was landscape design. And I had guys to help me with that work. But when the attacks would hit, I just had to stop. It brings you to your knees, and you can weep and you can beg and scream, and can tell you I've been in the floor screaming at God, what is this? Why am I suffering? And there just are no answers. Finally, after 6.5 years, my pain specialist at the time, he was a specialist for the University of Tennessee players with injections and blocks and such, but highly renowned. He saw me, and at first he started treating me for coccydynia. And this is not a coccyx problem, a tailbone problem. It's so much greater than that, but that's what he tried. And there were many trips to the hospital and blocks and injections and such. And they just wouldn't reach that pain. It seemed like nothing he could do helped me. And he finally said, these aren't doing you any good, are they? I said, no, not really. They don't reach the pain. And then he referred me to a physiatrist. And I don't know if everybody knows what that is, but it's a doctor that knows every nerve connection, just where every pain might be coming from. And that's all these people do. They work on reconnecting nerves and muscles to nerves and whatever. But he had me walk down the hall, he and his assistant, and he just watched me walk as I walked forward and or backwards to him. Anyway, when I got back, it was just down a long hall. When I got back, he said, I know what's wrong with you. You have pudendal nerve disease. And I was thrilled just to get a name for whatever this was. So that sent me studying the pudendal nerve. And sadly, when you get this diagnosis, I know now it is really like getting a death sentence. Life is over for you. I was so active. Everything at my church, I'd done choir for my life. Couldn't do anything anymore. I couldn't get out of bed. The pain is that, well, I'll go ahead and say the only thing written about it was the pain is that of end-stage cancer. And I can attest to that because it's about 10 times worse than childbirth, and men get this also. But at least I had a name for what was wrong with me. And I went to the top guy in gynecology and such. He's in Cosmo, Better Homes Gardens, just really knows everything, mostly about a woman. But anyway, went to him, and he verified the disease. And then he said, but I don't know anybody in the Southeast that treats it. But I had a name. And I went in, and he tells me yet to this day, and that was 12 years ago, he tells me he will never forget how I had to try to walk and hold on to the wall to get to him. And my friend had driven me over there. There was no hopes I could sit and drive. But anyway, he said, first, we've got to get you some help. We've got to get you some medicine. So to him, that's top priority. And I wish other doctors would do that, but they don't. But anyway, he verified the disease. And I was just thrilled to have an answer to what the monster was that was in me. And from there, it was just a search for help. And my husband found something online one night about midnight. Our job was to be on the iPad or phones, whatever, searching for a specialist or anybody that knew pudendal disease. And it was just constant. That's all we could do is just search. And we found nobody. But he found an article one night and came to the bedroom, and he said, I want you to hear this. And it was two doctors in California explaining the disease. Now, I don't know where those doctors are today because Californians don't have any help. I've been talking constantly with a lady there that is just so desperate. She has a hard time traveling as I do. It's almost impossible. I have a mattress a memory foam mattress that someone made for the back of our car. I just can't sit. And I gave my bug away a few years ago to my granddaughter because it had sat not moved in over 3 years. And my husband would start it so it would keep running. But there was no hopes I could ever sit. And the damage of this disease is, first of all, the attacks are almost unbearable. You hang on to the bed, you hold anything you can, you scream, you lay in the cold marble floor, and you beg to die. Basically, you just beg to die because so far we had not found a great help. But anyway, after that, I was set to go to Johns Hopkins and have my tailbone removed or anything else that the head of the pelvic pain division could do for me there. It didn't matter. I thought that would cure the problem. And my specialist begged me not to. I found in the meantime a doctor in Chattanooga that did internal blocks. And thankfully, you're put to sleep for that. But as many as 25 blocks go up in you around the muscles and everywhere they can block or reach. And I got those, but I wanted a cure. I really did. And anyway, we just found nobody that could cure it. But thank God, those blocks took me over 2 years. And all the while, still searching for who could help me permanently for that. But my inspiration was the pain that I went through. And I'll tell you that story, but I just had to write this little book. I had gotten so many calls. I did a YouTube, and basically it was for Europe. I'd been talking to sufferers there for over 2 years, I guess, maybe 3. And just nobody had help. Nobody. And anyway, I just had to tell the story. A surgeon found me. It was after, in year 13, I'd been getting some blocks, and after that, you just suffer, you just die, and the blocks kept me alive, but they didn't take care of all the horrendous pain ripping through my lower half. This nerve hides behind the tailbone, and it finally connects to the spine, but it can't be reached, really. They can't get rid of it because the pudendal nerve controls everything that happens in our lower torso. Everything. Bowels, bladder, the pain, the muscle aches, the throbs down through your legs. But I just had not found anybody that covered that kind of pain. But I had so many calls from people that were suicidal, and some did. They went ahead, and especially men, they're not going to put up with this. They just are not. And there are no specialists in this nation that take care of a man. No one. Anyway, when I found help, I just had to let sufferers know everywhere, there is help for us. There is some help. But anyway, that was my inspiration, just knowing this pain and knowing, hundreds, and my phone was so busy, hundreds of people called after the first YouTube. And of course I couldn't give them help except to tell them about these internal blocks, for one. But as far as I know, the only person that did them was the doctor in Chattanooga. Okay. I'd never found anybody else. So, some might have gone to him, were able, but I talked to people all over the world. People from Venezuela, Brazil, Sweden, Turkey. All these countries would be calling, and people would be begging for help, but there was none. There was no help for us. And I wrote this book just praying it might help somebody just hold on, give them something to hang on to, that there was someone out there that could help us. And that's my inspiration.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Judy. And it takes such a tremendous amount of courage, of experience, into a message of hope. Now, in every journey that you have taken, especially one involving chronic pain, since the pain is always there, has moments that truly test us. What was the most challenging moment in your journey, and how did you overcome it?
Well, it was hard. It was really hard. I won't tell you I have not thought of suicide so many times. And then the other Christians don't commit suicide, but I understand it. But the other was just in my state of screaming and begging for help and whatever, in prayer, always just begging. I begged God to let me die. Please take this away from me. Please let me go. And so far, it's not happened. So I had to decide God had worked for me somehow, some way. So I've talked this thing for 18 years now, over 18. And I can offer that bit of hope to sufferers that there are now 2 specialists in France and in Belgium. So people in Europe can, if they can get there, these are specialists that do surgery on this horrible thing. And in the U.S., my surgeon at first was Dr. Anilak in Minneapolis, and he had retired from Mayo. But he had seen this disease being a urologist at Mayo. So he started up a clinic, his own money, his own everything, because Mayo would not help him. It is not a taught disease, a recognized disease, nothing. His wife was a pain counselor, so he had to do it. He just had to do it. And I was so thrilled when I got up there. Well, let me tell you the story of how he found me. I put out a YouTube stating the pains that I had, the kind of pain and the depth of pain. And I said, does anyone anywhere know what this pain could be? It wasn't 5 minutes. I can't stand to be inside in the summer or spring, but anyway, a neighbor had set up a little platform for me outside under the trees and in my garden. It was just a beautiful little park-like area that I had done before I was so ill. But anyway, in less than 5 minutes, a surgeon called me, and I'm not kidding, less than 5 minutes. And he went over the areas of the pain that I had, and then he listed 3 other doctors above himself. At the time, this was in year 13, at the time there were 4 that had gone over to France and learned the surgery from a Dr. Roberts who had retired or stopped his office, his work whatsoever, and created a surgery for this disease. So these 4 doctors had gone there to France to learn this disease from him, but Dr. Anilak presented the qualifications and these other surgeons to me before telling me anything about himself. So when and I was on the phone with him, but when I read his credentials, I said, there's no doubt who I'm coming to. I absolutely will come to you. And he said, I will do surgery as fast as I can do it for you. And because you die with this disease, I was down to 80 pounds. And my older sister saw me like this. She was in Ohio, but she yelled and screamed at my 2 siblings that were here in Tennessee. If you don't help her find somebody, she's dying. She was just screaming at my brother and sister. You've got to find somebody to help her. And I was just a skeleton. That's all it was. But anyway, December 13, he absolutely saved my life. We went to Minneapolis and flew up. It was really, really hard to do, almost impossible for me to sit. And got there, and he did the surgery. It was almost 7 hours long. And he explained to me how that first surgery worked. They pull all the nerves up, the bound up nerves. He said it goes onto something like a hanger above you, and the nerves are held apart from that pudendal nerve. And he said we scrape that and get the scar tissue and get it unbound. The pudendal runs through something called an Alcock's canal. It's basically a membrane that it runs through. But mine had bound up so horribly into my left side. And what he found, he said, I am flabbergasted. I have never seen this in my life. My left side was bound into a ball smaller than a baseball, so whatever the baseball is, but bigger than a golf ball. And the pudendal was bound round, and then a styrofoamy cotton substance wrapped up that ball, wrapped it, and my husband said it was trying to protect that nerve. And I said, well, that might be the only explanation.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Dr. Anilak saved my life, and he knew he was saving my life. And anyway, he just couldn't believe, and he later studied me. I would fly back and forth for checkups and whatever. And I mentioned one day my little toe shot an electrical, that's what it felt like, an electrical shock, all the way down to my little pinky in the left toe, in the left leg. And he said, what did you say? So from there, he traced all my nerves, and he studied and studied. And he said, this disease came from your breech birth. I was a 10-pound breech, a home birth. I was my mother's 9th child, and she'd labored 2 days and was surely dying. And my dad went and got a country doctor. And years later, when I would complain of my left leg, it always sort of ached. And I learned what I could do and what I couldn't do. But anyway, later on, my mom said, no wonder you hurt. I never dreamed you would even be alive. And there were no meds for her. It was just jerk, tear, rip, anything to get me out of there after 2 days of labor. And he just ripped and tore me. And she said, no wonder you hurt. The way you were born, I never expected you to live. So Dr. Anilak discovered that, the reason I was like I was, but most people never know. A friend in Australia just slipped sideways on her exercise ball and fell onto the floor. Most everybody never has a clue how they get this, and there are so many thousands of us, thousands in the U.S., and so many, many more worldwide. And, Taipei, China called me one day and wanted to know if they could teach from my little book. And I said, absolutely. And they found it was wonderful to teach depression from it. And I've never thought of that. But I guarantee you, if you have this disease, you will find antidepressants. You will, because there's no other way to cope with it. And anyway, that's what they had wanted. So somewhere out in this world, the book is known.
Yes, it's okay. Now, your level of strength and your courage is so powerful, Judy, that your story, of course, will resonate with so many who feel unheard or unseen in their struggles like you did.
Well, I pray. I pray. That's what I do. I pray that it will. That's been my constant prayer. I wrote this book and got it out there. And if you talk to some of the sufferers, I mean, some have gone ahead and committed suicide, and some called as they had done suicide. What could I do then but pray them through it? It's very hard. I finally had to say, when it wasn't going away, I sort of say this, God won't let me die, so I have to just try to press on with it and bring it to the knowledge of someone somewhere. And med schools do not teach this, and that's why doctors have no idea. Almost every doctor I've ever gone there and say, I've never heard the word. It's horrible. It's beyond horror. But anyway, I just have to say that I won't die, so I've got to keep working. It's really hard.
I know. Now, your book sheds light on something that many people have never heard of course. What do you wish the medical community or even the general public better understood about what's often called the suicide disease?
Yes, because people can't bear the pain. You cannot live through this pain. And thankfully, Dr. Anilak in Minnesota believed the pain. And when Dr. Anilak died, he was 81 when he did my surgery, fit as a fiddle. But when he died, I had to find another one. That's a miracle in itself. But anyway, now I have Dr. Furr as the specialist. He was in Chattanooga, and now he's in Tampa. And the strange thing is, well, I won't tell you how many doctors I saw that just turned me down. And we were blessed to get to live in Florida a few years, and the disease came back. It just came back. And I had, well, my pain doctor, it was an interventional radiologist because nobody else treated it. So I endured up to 25 blocks at a time with no anesthesia. You don't get put to sleep with that. And it was hard. It was almost impossible to bear. And every time the doctor would, I just had to hold on. There was a bar to hold on, and the nurse was hanging onto my hand, and a rep was hanging onto my feet, and the doctor was working on me. And every time I would scream, or you couldn't move, you couldn't dare move, I would let out something, and he would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." He did that every time he gave me another needle. But anyway, finally, after a couple years, he said, "This isn't helping you at all anymore, is it?" I said, "No, I'm sorry, it's not." He said, "If you were my wife or mother, I would tell you to find the best neurologist that you can find anywhere." And we set out doing that. And it is a nerve disease, but neurologists won't fool with it. They will not. And I'll tell you, my experience with that, we finally found one in Florida. I would have gone anywhere if any neurologist would have seen me. But we found one at Miami University and saw him, and he told me, he held up my older x-rays and said, "Have they not shown you this? They didn't show you this?" I didn't know what he was talking about, but I said no. And he said, "Be back down here Friday morning, ready to go into Miami University Hospital and get everything new that you can." Well, I moved heaven and earth to get new CAT scans. At the time, I could have MRIs and such. But anyway, we raced down there by 9. It was about 2 hours away from Venice. And we raced down there to be there at 9 a.m., sat in his office waiting for him to tell us to move on, head over to the OR. And he opened the door, and he said, "I can't help you." And I just crumbled. I said, "What? I can't help you." He was very arrogant. He couldn't even tell me his name, really, at my first visit. And he said, "I just can't help you." I said, "What am I supposed to do?" "Well, I can give you a shot." I said, "I can get that in Venice. That's not what I need." And he closed the door. But a nurse came in with her tray of needles, and I said, "Never mind. I can get that in from the radiologist in Venice." So I walked out. Oh, I wept. I wept my whole way home. And it was just horrible. That was such a big letdown. And I had sent my disease and filled out questionnaires to the only other doctor there that claimed he was a pudendal specialist. But on the way out of Miami, I called that office, and the nurse went to prowl. Now, it had been a good 6 months since I'd been sending out to doctors what this was doing to me. And the nurse went and prowled, and I said, "I'm in Miami now. I wanted to know what he thinks about this." She went and prowled through his desk, and she apologized. He wasn't there. But anyway, she said, "I found it at the bottom of a pile of papers. He hasn't done anything with it." I said, "So therefore you mean he doesn't treat it?" She said, "He didn't even look at it."
Yes, this awareness, Judy, really brings difference to others. And the more people understand the reality of this condition, the more compassion and the support patient can receive. Of course, it would be a great help. And now writing can be deeply healing process. You know, for many authors, it can change the way they view their own stories. So how was how was this book shifted your perspective in your condition and on your life as a whole?
Well, I have prayed that it would go around the world, and I've paid people to distribute it in London. And I've told you about how bad the scams were. But anyway, it seems no matter what I did, I couldn't find a surgeon. And anywhere I go now, anywhere, hospitals, nurses have never heard the word. Anytime I go to the hospital for internal blocks or for anybody to work on me, I always take copies of the book. And I've left it at many doctors' offices and had my husband deliver it. I haven't been out of this house in over 5 years. I can't sit. I can't write except to doctors and hospitals. And I have to go there for treatment. But anyway, the book, I was compelled to write it. I probably would have lost my mind if I hadn't written it. It just came to me. And the first editor, there was nothing to edit. I wanted to be an English teacher so badly anyway. But the first edit came from someone that had retired from Reader's Digest in Washington. She was an editor there. And there was nothing to fix. Nothing. And anyway, I guess I thought that I would be able to go across country, leave at doctors' offices, hand out to the sick people, and just maybe deliver it. I never dreamed that this book would cause so many scams, and I have prayed for good representation of this book. And the fact that I did it, I put my name and number in there on purpose. I wanted sufferers to call me. If even the little girl from Turkey was crying her heart out, we had bought some airline tickets, but we're not in the position to ever do that anymore. But I told her, if you could get to my house, I will get you to a surgeon. I will get you to my specialist. And obviously she couldn't. And I hate to say, but she probably did suicide. But that's what I've told. That's what I've told so many people. If you can get to my house, we'll get you to the specialist. And that's happened a lot. And we were in Florida, but my husband would turn around and drive immediately to Dr. Furr's in Chattanooga. And there have been people that have called so desperate, wondering what was killing them. And I've told them, just go to Erlinger in Chattanooga. I will let my specialist know. He would meet them in the ER. That's how dedicated he is to this disease. And he only does this in cancer and endometriosis, just really awful cases. And writing the book has helped some people. It's just not gone like I would like for it to. I've prayed so hard that medical schools would pick it up. And I've begged doctors to please contact medical schools. Well, they obviously forgot it as soon as I said it. But that's the biggest problem. And an agent's been able to get it to Harvard, and they promised they would get it over to the medical school. And I personally talked to the head of the pelvic pain division at Johns Hopkins. She was the first lady to help me, the first doctor. I've said before I was ready to go have my tailbone removed, anything in the world that I thought might help. And she called me a couple of days before I was set to fly up. And my specialist in Chattanooga that had been doing blocks begged me not to. He said, you will either be in a chair or worse, meaning it would kill me. But I didn't have a choice. But anyway, she knows the disease, and she found help for me with the blocks. But the internal blocks, you couldn't bear those without being put to sleep. But anyway, she knows. And I need to touch base with them and see if they've done anything with it yet in the med school there. But anyway, that book, the one thing that it has done, and I've had hundreds upon hundreds of calls from sufferers, it has allowed me to be able to talk with them. And I let them know the only way that I survive is to pray. That is the only way. And I could tell you the miracles. You already know how Dr. Anilak found me. But I could tell you the miracle in finding my second specialist. And we only have 3 in this nation. And I've heard that there is a 4th one that is new. He's either training or he's starting to work with pudendal people. But that's it. That's all this nation has, and they don't teach it in med schools.
Mm-hmm.
I've mailed my book out to whoever I could think of, the med schools. And, I don't know where it's gone after that, probably nowhere, but it has helped me somewhat to reach sufferers, and especially those who have gone ahead and gone to Chattanooga for treatment. I mean, it's unending, the thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, it has helped some people. That's all I can say. I would pray it would reach thousands.
Mm-hmm.
And in Europe, let me wet my mouth. In Europe, let me tell you this. 1 second, please.
Okay.
In Europe, I spent the entire winter, from fall through winter, through March, talking with Facebook people, but sufferers, only sufferers. And by the thousands, I was busy from the time I woke until after midnight at night, because the time changes, talking with hundreds upon hundreds of sufferers. And some of them had access to the book because that's only, I talked to them through FaceTime, but some had actually been able to read the book. I don't know who put it out over there, but anyway, it has reached some in Europe, and I've been able to let them know they are blessed to have the specialists in France and Belgium, and that's how they can plan for help. And those doctors have the highest honors. They are highly recommended. And for men in this nation, I talked to plenty of men on Facebook, plenty that were suffering, and one poor teacher, he kept passing out at work from the pain, and he had to finally just go on medical leave. And he saved enough to get to Belgium. And the doctors there, the specialists there are amazing, but that's all they have. There are 4 in all of Europe, and all the way down to Australia, and there is one in Sweden that we know of. Do not go. He is a butcher, but anyway, he claims he can do pudendal surgery. But anyway, they do have access to those doctors, and the ones that had gone to them really recommended him, and I was able to recommend them to other sufferers. But some people don't have means to fly, and that's the sad thing about this. People in like Turkey, that girl had no one she could see, no one. But one thing I did discover, Europe and countries have access to more meds than America has. The government in 2017 shut down doctors from giving out prescription meds, and it takes a strong med to be able to do anything for this disease. And my specialist always, when I hit the second one in Chattanooga, he knew the pain. I was barely holding on, and my sister, I flew up from Florida, and my sister or family would race me over to Chattanooga to get treatment from Dr. Furr there. And I want his name to go out. I've spread it as much as I can. And anyway, the first time I saw him, he said, I am not going to touch you in the condition you in. I'm giving you meds and praying that you can come back in 2 weeks. And I was thankful for the meds, because in Florida in 2017, I went in for my refill script, and the doctor was absolutely furious. I walked back to his office, and he said, I can't help anybody. I can't give one pain med. The government has sent a mandate out. We will lose our license if we prescribe a strong med, meaning oxys, strong enough medicine to hit this nerve. Anyway, he said, I can't help anybody. Oh, he's so furious. And so that left me out, and I just had to search for help. And when the doctor in Miami, the neurologist flat out said, I can't help you, he said it like that also, and then closed the door. But we were on a search for anybody that could help me. And this is one of my miracles. I was lying in Florida. You have lanais. Ours was a big, huge, and off from the bedroom. I hobbled out there from my bed, which was no more than 8 steps, to a lounger there, and then my husband would be out there. He'd bring my coffee, whatever. But we were on the internet immediately as soon as I got up, and if I could bear it. And as soon as he was there, we Googled and searched, and the name Dr. Furr went through my mind. I'd never heard it. I was crying and begging for help, just praying my heart out and weeping. I mean, weeping. There's crying and there's weeping, and hanging on as hard as I could. But Dr. Furr's name ran through my mind, and I told my husband, I don't know who he is, but I'm going to Google him. And we Googled him, and his scheduler answered the calls. And I said, do you know anybody in Tennessee that does pudendal nerve surgery? Oh, he does that now. I dropped the phone, and I just started weeping. And my husband picked up the phone and talked to her a minute. And when I'd composed myself a little bit, I talked to her, and she said, well, he's so very booked up. She said, I'll put you in for a visit in 2 weeks. And I said, I won't be here. I knew I was dying once again. I was into 80 pounds, 88 pounds. And I was just dying. It was just so horrible. Can't eat nothing. You can't do anything. Squatting on my knees, whatever is where it was, or flat on the floor. But anyway, she said that, and I told her I won't be here. And I heard heavy shoes walk through, and he wears boots. I know now he wears boots. But anyway, she said, hang on just a minute. And she went and talked to him. And, well, it was further out. He was booked so far out. She came back to the phone and said, can you be here by Wednesday? I said, absolutely. This was Monday after the the neurologist in Miami on Friday had told me that, and this was Monday. I said, absolutely. And so I headed up there, and that's when he told me. I flew out of Tampa, and that's when he told me, and flights are horrible. It's so awful for me to have to sit. But that's when he told me, I wouldn't touch you in your condition. He gave me meds, and he said, come back in 2 weeks. Well, I tried my best. I was up all night, and I'd given my sister a big Amish-made swing long enough for a body, and I'd brought cushions and whatever in her garden that I had done a few years before, being a landscaper, a designer. But anyway, I've spent many nights out there just praying and crying, and I was up, so into the night. And by the time 9 o'clock rolled around, I went in to my bedroom there, and I was on the floor. And I called down there and talked to the nurse, and I said, I am not going to be able to make it. I can't make it. I cannot survive this. And once again, she went and asked the doctor, tell her she won't have to wait. Tell her to come on now. And that was his words. And I was sick. I was deathly. So when I got to him, of course, in surgery, he came back out and asked my husband, your wife is dying. Do I have your permission? He said, you can do anything you want to. You have all my permission. Well, he saved my life again. There was so much scar tissue covering me again and wrapped around that nerve again. And still to this day, I have to go at least once a year, sometimes twice, to have that scar tissue removed. And some people don't have that. Some people do get cured from surgery. Now, I won't say the many of us, but some people, milder cases, I'm sure they'll be angry if they hear this, but some people can survive this. But you can't without meds. And our government will not allow meds, but thank God that specialist can give me 20 of his worst patients. And he says I'm the worst. But anyway, he can give 20 of his worst patients meds. And I have that from him and oxy suppositories. And I finally found a pain doctor here in Knoxville to put in a pain pump. I'd had those before, but the last one malfunctioned. The tubes had come loose from spreading out the meds in my rear, and Dr. Furr corrected that. But anyway, that's the shape I am today.
I would like to ask you this last question. Many listeners, of course, tuning us today has a lot or experiencing, rare conditions, chronic pains, and of course, what advice or message of hope would you like to share with those currently fighting their own battles?
Well, a lot of people suffer from back and other diseases. And, sad thing is I battled with insurance to cover me. My treatments were insane, $7,000 a shot. But anyway, that wasn't my doctor's fee. That was a hospital. But I battled with insurance companies trying to get them to cover treatment. And the only thing I can tell people, especially if they've read this book, I prayed. I had to pray. I hate to say it like this, because I've always prayed, but there was nothing left for me. I prayed for a doctor somewhere, somehow. And I just told you, I know he was a miracle. I know he was. And putting out a YouTube all over the world, that was a miracle that Dr. Anlek answered me in less than 5 minutes. But the only thing I can say, even to non-believers, the only thing I know to do is keep searching for a competent doctor. And there are few, but if you can't travel, some people think they cannot. I had to, and it really hurt me bad. But you have got to find a competent doctor that knows pudendal disease. And it's sad to say, but you've got to have meds. And once you find a specialist, you should be able to have meds. It's just so sad that our government, at one time I tried to gather enough signatures to present to the American Medical, the AMA. And believe it or not, I couldn't get enough signatures. People just had to scream about their own pain. But anyway, that's all I could advise anybody. I only survived by the grace of God and in finding the specialist that I found. And without a specialist, you're not going to survive this. You're not going to survive this. Some people are helped by physical therapy. All I can say is it's a milder case of this disease, because when you are full-blown suffering, there's nothing like it. It's like the insides of your lower torso are coming out. You're not like childbirth, but coming out through your rear. The sit bones, the big sacrum, the symptoms are just like that. It's pressure of those bones trying to get out of your body. And that's what the pudendal nerve does. It controls everything about us, for one. Life is over, but you've got to have something to hold on to if you have this disease. And like I said, I haven't been out in over 5 years. That's with a specialist and with a pain device. And you just have to keep on praying and keep on searching for a specialist. Because in the United States, that's the only way you're going to get a med, sadly. And our government shut down because of drug addicts. They don't consider us. They don't consider sufferers. And I want to contact RFK. At least make him aware of this disease that's killing people. They die and they commit suicides. And the worst thing is we get sepsis. I did, not last winter, but the winter before, I had 2 hours to live by the time I got down to Chattanooga to the doctors there. And it took 7 days for them to clear out the poison out of my body. You will get sepsis because we don't go to the bathroom. Either way. It's a battle either way. But you've just got to, I know it's so hard for people to hold on. I know I know the disease, and right now I am in agony. It's time for a bolus from a med pump. But you just got to have med some way, somehow. You've got to find a doctor, and you've got to travel if you have to. I tried to help a lady in Canada and talk to her almost daily, and it's been, maybe 4 or 5 years now. But she was too proud. Dr. Analak was alive, and he was just right over in Minneapolis. She was too proud to take my $300 for our flight and to see Dr. Analak. He would have seen her regardless. He was the kindest, sweetest man. But she was too proud to take my $300. And of all things, her husband was suing her to pay half the son's college. And she was just a librarian. It was not officially a library. She just put up books. And she killed herself. She called me as she did it. And all I heard was, "Oh, Judy." And then she wept. And I knew what she had done. And I said, I'll pray for you right now. I mean, people realize, at least a great majority, realize there's nothing left but prayer for us. And I prayed her way out of this world because she had already done suicide. And she was calling me to let me know. And that's what happens with us, because you can't live. You cannot live with this disease. Maybe there are lesser pains and lesser cases. And physical therapy, I did that for 8 months, twice a week. It was absolute agony. It was like delivering a child every time, and we realized that wasn't going to help. She was a renowned physical therapist that worked on men that had fallen on girders from tall buildings, and that's all she dealt with. And physical therapy may work for some milder cases, but you can't survive this without a doctor. You cannot, not a regular doctor. And with this government like it is about not giving us a pain med, I don't know how people live on. I don't know how. So that's my final words. Hold on, and keep searching for a specialist. There are a few, very few, but keep on searching. And you've got to travel, like the lady in California that says she can't possibly travel. Well, there's a group in Arizona. I would have ridden a train if I needed to. I would have done anything to get help. But anyway, there are people that say they can't. Well, you've got to travel because we don't have specialists. Maybe 4. That's it. So just hold on. That's all I can say. Just hold on.
Wow. Thank you so much for your advice.
You're very welcome.
Judy.
Thank you.
Of course, your voice brings validation to so many who are still searching for answers. Thank you so much, Judy, for sharing.
You're very welcome.
Your story with us. It's very.
Thank you so much.
Heartful. Yes. And that was Judy. Of course. Judy, again, thank you. Your courage, your faith, and your heart shine through every word you speak. So your story is not just about survival. It's about reclaiming your life and helping others find their way forward. Thank you so much once again. And that was Judy Rentz, the inspiring author of Fighting to Survive the Suicide Disease, Pudendal Nerve Entrapment, and Neuralgia Disease. So we hope her strength and honesty touch you as much as it did to us. Thank you so much also to our listeners for tuning in today. Be sure to check out her book and join us next time again for another heartfelt conversation here on Writer's Way Podcast. Until next time, stay inspired and keep reading. Bye for now.